Tuesday, 30th of March, 2018. A client that I'm working with today. Specifically, I'm just doing some pre-work, I guess. I'm not going to talk to her for a couple more hours. Decided what I'm going to start doing with my minor arcana since I never do anything with it. I've been primarily using it as to identify an individual. So I got all my minor arcana besides the Queen of Discs put out right here. And I'm going to pick one for her. Queen of Cups. Okay. I actually have no idea what the Queen of Cups means. Wait a minute. Queen of Cups. Loving, tender-hearted, intuitive. Loving turns away wrath with caring, is unconditional, accepting, is sensitive to feelings of others, dispels anger and hate, has infinite patience. Is a woman whose throne is right on the ocean's edge. A water is typically symbolic to the unconscious and feeling. Fascinating. Fascinating. That explains her dream problem she's having. Alright. A dreamer and a visionary. I don't usually use the minor arcana, so. Well. I guess we picked well for that. So. Let's see. Overall focus for the Queen of Cups. See, she's concerned about her dreams. So what would be the... Oops. Zodiac house themes for her dreams. Okay. Gemini, Neptune, her second house. So she's having some sort of futuristic insight about her immediate area. Could be potentially to do with weather. Or the spiritual dynamic of where she is. So, let's start with what was her overall, I guess. I know she just got money, but what was her, I guess, soul's intention or overall purpose on a subconscious level to schedule the reading with me from the get-go? Not today, but initially. This kind of feeds into like what we talked about last year. On one of my live streams, this individual was actually on it randomly. When I first started doing my tarot stuff, obviously the tarot stuff is going to be a portion of the reading she's getting with me because she's doing an astrological consultation. But I do this beforehand to get an idea of what's going on. So, the initial reason why she sought out a consultation with me is to gain overall prudence and virtuous of her decisions in life, and have some sort of scientific, beyond reasonable doubt, way for her to compromise any of her foundational issues, so her emotional issues or anything to do with like her early life, that sort of thing. Your foundation is all about your strength too. So it's the same thing as like the seed being sown. If the seed's not sown in a great environment, then the plant doesn't grow to be healthy, sort of thing. So that has to do with the fourth house as well. So she wants to basically understand her good natures and be able to exercise insight in the future, prudence in general, with a scientific, complete, accurate way to basically compromise her self-defeating behavior, so she can be more self-sustained and more just basically loving herself more, understanding herself to the point where she understands her defeating behaviors, and she understands her virtuous behaviors, and understands that some things are just, environmental, and some things you can't. So, let's see, she was recently sick. What was the origin of the sickness with that, just for the hell of it? Interesting. I mean, I've already kind of talked about that. Wow, I'm just pulling almost the same exact cards, aren't I? Ah. I hope this is still recording. It is Mercury retrograde. Okay, we're still recording. Good. Can you please go get a life? I know that, like, she's your, she's your biggest fan, but I don't need you right now, okay? Ah. So, the origin of her sickness she just got was stress. That would make sense why she didn't really get sick during a time frame that would make sense, more or less. So, the illness was caused by success of the defeating behavior and the lack of changing it, and how it contributes to her health and her emotional well-being. To do with her reputation or her environment, her public area, so where she just moved to. So that could mean that she actually got a contagious illness from people in the area she just moved to, but primarily it does relate to stress, because even people who are completely submersed in a really contaminant environment can still actually, basically deflect any kind of contaminant illness, contagious illness and stuff. Okay, so she specifically said, I need to talk to you today about the dreams or whatever. So the initial, before she contacted me, what was inspiring her to do so was her self-defeating behaviors. I got that card again. And what will happen as a result of us talking about this is the eon, meaning that it's universal. And then what will result in her and I having this discussion is there will be an abundance of understanding. Yeah. Okay, so let's see. Let's just go ahead and give her all the nitty-gritty here. So, her moving to Cincinnati. Let's see how that goes. Peace. Oh, we got her card here. I don't know any of the details about her moving to Cincinnati, besides the fact that she moved to Cincinnati. But essentially, for her to resolve any of her worries or stresses of the self, likely to do with her love life, perhaps, and the disappointment of the Queen of Cups, which is her, that will be victorious due to indolence. Hold on a second. Indolence is one of those words that I'm just like... Doesn't matter how many times I look up that word. Yeah, it's even in my Google history. Avoidance of activity, laziness, sloth, inactivity, inaction. Sluggishness, lifelessness. So essentially, her moving to Cincinnati will give her some sort of motivations to actually live, which is something that her and I kind of brushed up on briefly. So, her dreams, specifically. I don't know if I did that, but we'll do that again. Her dreams are associated with the success of Love, the Queen of Cups. I got it again. I got her card again. And the Failure, Debauchery. I think I like the whole using the minor arcana and labeling people. I think this is cool. I like this. So, essentially, her dreams are based on the potential ruin of her success with love, with the Queen of Cups, or be successful with ruining the stagnant sorts of second house issues, and the failure debauchery. So this looks like this stems back to relationship things. Somehow the move was involved with that. This all stems back to self-love issues and being with toxic people and in general. So her and I talked about her love life last year. What is the scenario going on with that now? Love life. Nina, what are you doing? Raising you? Her love life, just looking at these cards initially, I want to smack whoever the hell she's talking to. It's my first thing. The cruelty, the mental abuse or cruelty, leading somebody on, and worrying about the communication in general, and failing to gain anything of meaning out of it. The first thing I think of is Catfish, the Catfish MTV show, when I looked at that. Uranus, Libra, 5th house. So, the balance of your relationships is causing a trauma signature on the self. Whoever this is the origin of a lot of your emotional issues. I'm not saying that you haven't had emotional issues prior to this, but this person exacerbates it. Whoever they are. Use my karma cards. Let's see. Let's do sign, house, and planet. So, I'm pulling the karma cards out for what should be done about this. Because I don't have any kind of biased anything at this point. If my irritation with whoever this isn't evident enough, I don't know what to say. Moon and Capricorn in the 8th house. Spiritually to defend your goals as a life or death issue. Yeah. That's evident right now too with the Revelations Rapture thing going on. On a mental level, accept the day-to-day reality of getting and using power. Yeah, don't wield your power away to some asshole. Physically, let your feelings tell you how to use the most of your business-like way and use other people's resources, or lack thereof, or don't let them use yours. That would be the way to react to that. The way to absorb this and I guess accept it would be, on a spiritual level, the nurturing of a dedication to achieve personal power. Again, self-love. And the mental would be physical. Mental is feelings caused by focusing on the mysteries of life. Focus internally, self-love. That also explains your dreams. And then on a physical level, reactions resulting from the rules imposed by a major change. So it seems like you got sick somehow related to your move. and that your move was kind of like a thing out of desperation to either, try to reconcile something that I don't think you should, or to get away from something that cannot be reconciled, which we're both aware that you can't, despite how much you try. And girl, I'm right there with you. Been there, done that, totally understand. We both have the same rising, the same MC, hopeful wishes, dreams, hoping everything will work out, and it just doesn't. It just doesn't. And trust me, all the hope in the world does not make it better, and it doesn't make you accept it any easier. As a matter of fact, it just makes your fall even higher. You're just putting yourself on cloud 9 even higher and higher, and the fall is even more treacherous than if you were to cut it off ahead of time. That's the pre-reading, and I'll provide this and then do the follow-up in a couple hours.
Hello, is there someone there who cares for God-forsaken souls and God-forsaken man? Is there someone there who cares? Hello, is there someone there who cares for God-forsaken souls and God-forsaken man? Oh, hello, is there someone there who cares for God-forsaken souls and God-forsaken man? Is there someone there who cares?
Okay, we're going to continue on here. I'm going to be calling the client here in a minute. We're going to just put all this together at the end of all this. So, primarily, this individual needs to focus on defeating behaviors. So, looking at some things that will need to be a focal that this individual may not be aware of. Chiron is your Achilles heel. Unfortunately, she's got Chiron in the 12th house. That is, the epitome of not knowing any of your defeating behaviors. That's why she needs some direction. A couple other things when I look at this. She's probably not aware of this one because I'm looking at her solar chart. So this is the life. This is the person who she is. Not necessarily the dynamic of how her chart will play out, which is like a normal natal chart, but this is the person here. She's got she's got Uranus conjunct with Pluto. Uranus is a trauma signature. Pluto has to do with your psyche. That's in her day-to-day mundane house. It's also a house that's associated with the mind. So a lot of actually her self-defeating behaviors is psychosomatic. And again, she also in this case has Neptune in the 8th house of her individual secrets, meaning that she actually masks a lot of her self-defeating behaviors and actually doesn't vocalize a lot of it. And she's got just the whole reinforcing the mental thing. She's got, look at the mental houses. So the mental houses is the 3rd house. She's got Venus conjunct the ascendant. So her relationships primarily like govern her whole mentality. And that's something she needs to absolutely break. The 6th house has to do with her day-to-day and her discernment and her basically deciding, is this person good for me or is this person good for me? Is this choice good for me or is this choice good for me? And because she's got Chiron in Pisces in opposition with that, that insinuates that she never puts herself first. So her entire mental dynamic is completely derived from her relationship with whoever is the most important to her that's never herself. Yeah. And then her having the polar ascendant with Neptune in the 8th house means that she hides that she doesn't put herself first. And she hides her defeating behaviors. And she hides the fact that a lot of actually her neglecting herself and not putting herself first is actually her entire downfall. I just want to make sure that I at least got that out because that's really important for me to add before I actually call her. So I guess it's time to call. Let's put this right here. Alright, I'm just gonna let her call me. So, Nina, we don't need your help, Mew. Good God, Mew. So look at that. She's got a trauma signature with Uranus in Virgo. Mind. She's got Black Moon Lilith in Sagittarius. Yep. Yep. And then she's also got Neptune and Scorpio. So, a trauma signature with lack of discernment. Her having really far-fetched ideations and, you know, what's important. Sagittarius, Black Moon Lilith. And her underlying just toxic or destructive, self-destructive mentality. Yeah. So the cruel irony of this is that she's an Aries. Aries are always supposed to be like, I'm first, I'm important, me, me, me. And life's irony, right? She's not the most important thing in her life. And she knows that. Yeah. And her having Eris actually on the ascendant, with her Mars, with her Moon, with her Sun, with her Vulcan, insinuates that all of the chaos that ensues with her is all self-induced. The great thing about that is that means that she can fix all of it too. Because as much as this sounds like this sucks, this is like the best case scenario for somebody who actually wants to fix themselves. It sucks when somebody's like, oh yeah, well by the way, the whole world just shits on you all day long, and there's nothing you can really do about it. You can accept it, but you're fucked. But somebody who actually is completely at fault for all the bullshit in their life, as much as that seems like that's discouraging and depressing, that's actually the best fucking case scenario for anybody. Absolutely. Because that means that once that person becomes self-aware, once that person actually acknowledges and is honest and real with their problems, the problems can be resolved. And all I gotta say is once she does that, whoever the person is that's been like dragging her along or something like that, you better run for the hills. Cause that's, yep. She's got Ceres in Capricorn, conjunct her South Node, meaning that once... Oh. Yeah, I'll call you. Okay. Meaning that once she actually is aware of this, I know, really knew, that she has the potential to heal everything. Mew, 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 mew. You don't need to come up here, Mew. Three, two, one. Answer. Come on, Julie. You know. It is Mercury.
Hello?
Hello?
Hi.
What's up? How's it going?
I'm like going back over your tarot card reading. I cannot believe you. It's so ridiculously accurate. It's like silly.
Yeah, I was actually just talking to myself again for a moment before we got started, but some interesting things that I just kind of reiterated some of your problems, and so...
It was so cool, though, because it's like, wait, did you throw the I Ching? What was the dice?
Oh, those are my Astro dice. Like, I'm still gonna make this a video, so I'll show you here. So I've got like they're just called Astro Dice. I have one that's got all the houses on it, and then I've got one that has all the planets on it, and one that's got all the stars on it. Yeah.
Is it similar to the I Ching? Is it the same kind of idea?
It's kinda. It's just 3 dice though. It's basically like if I were gonna decide like what house we should talk about or whatever, I just roll it and it says Taurus, 5th house.
Let's gamble for spirituality.
Yeah.
Gambling for bowling for dollars. Gambling for spiritual answers.
Yeah, for real. So anyway, do you want me to just go into it, or do you have anything else that I didn't touch up on? Because I kind of was just...
No. You've hit it all, but I mean, I'd say at this point, like, the people that are, driving me insane, you're not going to... You're going to be like, Jesus Christ. But it's almost like there's one male that is the brother figure who sort of talks for the male figure that is in the picture.
Oh, God.
And yet they want to kill each other and nobody will talk to each other. So it's not like I haven't even had any contact with the guy that I actually have the relationship with.
Wow.
Because of my illness for like 2 years, I guess now, because when I moved, I was like, I'd have to like try and contact him until they left. But It's a really weird situation. It's very strange, and it goes into layers of things that are just would blow your mind. But I pulled all my parents and my sister's charts, from Ask.com up to look at it because they're the culprits. Like, my sister is Scorpio rising.
Oh, God.
And this dude is Scorpio rising, and the person who speaks for him, like on some sort of strange psychic level, is a Scorpio moon, which is like my father.
Ew.
And he's very famous, and my father was, it's just like this bizarre, like, bouncing ball of crazy. And all of the people, like, and my sister, my mother, my father, and me, we all have, like, late 20-degree connections.
Yeah.
And I keep seeing the 22-degree connections, and then the guy that actually loved me, but I actually dissed him originally, he actually has more, like, he's got a lot there, but I think he's autistic as well, which is why I started looking at autism, and I found out I found myself.
Yeah.
I was like, and the person who's really, I think, the nemesis in all this, and I can't tell because other astrologers that I've been to have picked it up, and they morph back and forth into each other because they had, like, a twinship, and I have a twinship with this famous guy. And, like, it's funny because what kind of music you like, do you ever listen, or have you ever listened to the Virgin Prunes?
I don't think so, no. I listen to a lot of goth music.
It's very goth. You would like it. Well, anyway, he was the original drummer in that band, and that band was the up-and-coming band with U2 in Ireland.
Oh, wow.
And so it's Pod and Bono, and they were, like, the best of friends, and then Bono put the axe in his back, which is identical to my father in his big business place.
Oh, gosh.
His best friend put the axe in his back and ruined his entire life, and ruined it for all of us that we all then were all of a sudden poor when we'd been rich and, like, around all these, yada yada. It's not so much about the yada yada, it's more about the sickness of not knowing how to cope when you lose everything.
Right.
So, there's that going on. The Cincinnati thing, like, I mean, I definitely feel like I'm a schizo here. It's like, if I could just get myself up, even when I'm not feeling well, before I went out for a walk, I had packages to the post office, and it's like weird. I mean, like, I was able to pick exactly, and I know nothing about these places. I've never been here before. It's like when I was young, I walked off into Ireland at 18 because I had been, like, connecting with Bono, and it was like, all my friends and all this rich shit in New York, and it was like, oh, we can get into these shows, and we would go, and, but for some strange reason, I was, like, in the front row, and I really didn't care, and I was afraid of him, and all this weird shit started happening, and I ended up in a cult with him.
Wow, wow.
Yeah, so you could see that whole, like, something you're talking about, like, the foundation is all fucked up. It was like a born-again Christian cult. So now that's why I'm such a, like, I don't care what other people say. If I don't know it to be true myself, and if I don't go look in the Bible for myself, I can't just, suck up your weird legalistic nonsense, because it almost killed me at 18 years old.
Right.
So, so now as I'm older, these people like Bono will not talk to me. And Todd, there's mental illness in his family, like a severe part. And because of the fact that, like, really bad, like his older brother had, like, fucking shock treatments, and I never met him. And one of them's an alcoholic who I met and was the most stable of them all. And then Todd he was, and then he stopped, but it's like somebody who's white-knuckling until, the dawn of time. So, I haven't talked to him in, like, a year and a half, because I was having back problems and horrible pain and all this stuff. I just couldn't deal with it anymore. So it's, like, weird. But Bono won't get back. But I had connections where I could call the offices and tell them, things are going on. And, even when I thought I had a cancer scare, nothing. I mean, this man is so jilted and crazy that it's one of those things where you can't tell if it's him or it's Todd causing problems. But he's just like my father and my mother in so many ways. And I was close to him. Like, I was so close to him. It was ridiculous. We were like twin brother and sister. And, like, the Edge's wife, all the people back then all saw it. And then, Bono just, like, decided the fame was more important. And we brought him into it. It's like, exactly, right? It's like, you idiot.
You know what? You know what's really funny? I can't stand Bono.
Well, see, this is my thing now. For years, I was afraid to say anything. And I was like, being like, I'm Christian, I'm being this. And then finally, all of a sudden, I started to see how sick in the fucking head he was with the kind of Christians that he was saying. I was like, these fake-ass people who, like, these fake-ass people who are like, we believe all this. Like, they think they're like the Greeks. You know what I mean? Like, if they have no clue. They pick and choose all this shit, as Jordan Peterson says, like throwing Jello on the wall.
Yeah.
Like, it's like the New Age. It's the same thing. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say I think that I'm biblically correct when I'm still trying to figure out if, like, astrology was only because of some fucked up Chaldeans. You know what I mean? Like, I just sit there, I'm like, okay, I'm completely in on this with God. I'm totally, like, going to keep going. Yeah. And until I find out the answer, I'm not going to feel crazy. But, it's hard. But these people, it's become a bunch of, like, pseudo-nonsense, and there's all these fake Christians now who are like, this is like tarot cards and all this, and it's like, what are you, psychotic? Like, you don't get it. It's like that's what I like about you. It's like, you look at things and you go, this is who I am. You don't lie about it. You don't pretend. You're just like who you are. Yeah, I had a friend in New York. She was a Satanist, and one of the perms of it. It was like, what am I supposed to say? I'm not better than anybody else, but these other people, they're like, we're going to like, Jesus-fied. And it's like, they're crazy. They're like, they're not like having like people, like gay guys dressed up in diapers and dancing with shows. It's like, what are you doing? Like, I'm sorry. You know what I mean? If you want to be like one of these people who are like, we have these tarot card readings, and they're not tarot cards. No, they're not service. They're destiny readings. And I'm like watching, because that's what I studied, theology, after what happened to me. Yeah. And I was beaten down when I was 18. And I was just like, these are insane. It's like, even you say, you know what, I'm really into Christianity, but you know what, I'm a major fuck up, and I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, because everybody fucks with me, And, and I feel like God understands that. And these are the people that are like, we're going to fix people with those, like, faux pseudo-spirituality. It's like, what do you want to be? Like, what do you want to be? Do you want to admit, like, it's like, I'm not going to change the Bible to suit my insanity.
Well, you know, actually,
keep reading it. You have to keep going. You have to keep trying. You understand.
You gotta stop.
Not just for wimps.
You gotta stop listening to that in general, because like the stuff, especially that like I've stumbled upon, especially in the last year or so, this will totally turn everything on its head. So Jupiter's bad, and Jupiter represents the church.
Yeah.
And
I was trying to understand what you were talking about. Uranus and Saturn.
Yeah, Saturn actually is the ultimate god. Saturn is the Old Testament god.
And I would agree with it that he's the god of Kronos. Because that's your new name on your rating thing.
Yeah.
Kronos, it's very soft. I think because I have this Jungian bent in me.
Yeah.
I can totally understand, and it's like things link together.
It's because you have a Pisces at Saturn, but like this is the thing that's gonna totally like trip people out. This is why I've been fixated like on the Revelations thing, because I've never been religious. Essentially the spirit things that I keep talking to now, basically are saying that they are the things that come back for Revelations, that they're here to actually basically attack people like the people you know. And to basically torment them and make them off themselves, or worse.
Oh, that's what I worry about Todd, because he was really, like, seriously, like, mentally ill, and I did put him through shit when I left him 40 years ago.
I'm sure he put you through a lot of shit, too, though, because I see a lot of
no, I'm not saying he didn't. I'm just saying that, like, it's not like everybody's innocent, one person's innocent, that's all.
Yeah.
And I do see, like, there was another, do you have Jenny Lynch, the astrologer?
Do I know who?
No, Jenny Lynch.
No, I don't really know any other astrologers, really. Most people don't like me.
She's one who was on Manhattan Cable TV in New York.
Oh.
And she's somebody I got to see, and, like, of course, like, my other best friends who run, like, they ran a consignment store, the boyfriend knows her, and the daughter, and, like, I know a lot of astrologers, but I have a lot of, like, William Strickfers I know through her, and all these different people. I'm like, I visited Michael Luton. Do you know Michael Luton?
I think I've heard of him.
He's crazy as fucking get it. You have to watch him. And oh my God, he, like, totally fucked me over. I went, like, for solar retreat. I don't believe in solar returns. And he just goes into this really weird, like, I'm a psychologist kind of stance.
Wow.
Because he's, like, talking to something in the room, and you're like, who's he looking at? You're like, hey.
Wow.
And then he fucking, he goes, he said something amazing to me. He said, you are like, and I was like, what? He doesn't give out compliments. And that was true. He goes, you know me, you don't give out compliments. He's like an angry gay guy from New York, you know what I mean? And it's funny, one of my best, closest friends from forever, like, back when I was younger, lived in the same building. So when I went to, I was like, what is this? He's just a crazy person, and he's very famous.
Wow. Yeah. See, no, I don't pay attention to anything like that. Like, I'm totally on the outskirts. Most people can't stand me, and primarily, especially astrologers, can't stand me because I actually know what I'm doing. So. Yeah. But so let's go ahead and jump into this, because you're kind of proving my point with something. So.
Yeah. No. What I was trying to tell you is that in general, I mean, that's the thing. Like, my mother and all these people, they're all like, my mother's like big New Age, like, this healing, and she talks to, like, all these angels, and she does this nice book and everything. It's all very kind of like, she's nuts, basically.
Yeah.
And like, all these people, they know each other. It's that la 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 that you talk about as well. These New Agey, like, la la la. And every week they have a new position.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this week I believe in this, and this week I believe in that. So, like, a lot of the shit that goes on with me in general with other human beings is on my mother. I have no boundaries from the woman. She was an actress. She left Kentucky when I was a kid, and she basically, became very successful as a stage actress, and she got to work with, like, the big deal, acting teachers, and it was the 1950s. It was like, you get acting students that are like, nah, this is my dog, and it's, like Marilyn Monroe and shit, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And she just, she's all like, it's just awful. And she's just really manipulative and crazy. And I mean, you did the tarot card before. You know, stress. I'm like, yeah, I know it. It's like doctor, lawyer, NG, and chief are going to tell me stress. Like, I could go, to a 5-year-old in kindergarten and be like, you're stressed, lady, go away. It's like, it's just, this is sick.
Yeah.
So my dad's a whole other story, but I'll tell you this. The boyfriend thing, and this is very weird. This is where maybe we should start. Okay, so he's a Scorpio. I remember you saying, because you hate Scorpios, because what happened to you.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Yeah. But he's like well, this is what's weird. Our combined chart, if you go by his, I don't know, for some reason I feel like he should be rectified to 8:20 in the morning.
Well, I could do a solar chart anyway, which is better.
The problem is that what happens is he's a Scorpio, and either it's Scorpio rising, it's like 8 a.m. and at 22 minutes or something, or 21 minutes, it becomes Sagittarius rising.
Ew.
And that's what it's like to talk to him. It feels like somebody's hitting you with a hammer.
Well, he's childish, right?
Victim.
He's childish,
What?
right? He's childish?
Childish?
Yeah. Does he act childish?
No, actually, he's severely Capricornian and very, very, Plutonic and very, yikes, are we having that Plutonian thing? He's very, he's not a child in a healthy sense, but he hides it now because of what happened. In the cult, they took him in a room eventually, and I'm the one who saved him. They took him in a room, and they started casting out a so-called demon.
Oh, my God.
And he started screaming. I was 18 years old, right? I was 18.
Wow.
And I freaking go to God. I'm like, tell me a word. And there was one other girl in the room who was, a known prophet. She's studying, right? And
Yeah.
she walks over to me and tells me, and she had done it before. And I was like, this is so sick. And I'm like, go get him out of the room. And it said, those with the faith of mustard seeds can move mountains. And I was like, this is sick. Well, and from then on, that's why I think he's so cruel and crazy, because I come back into his life 20-odd years later. He wanted to, soulmate the whole thing. And then I just, ditched him because he was so fucked up and drunk all the time and all this crap that went on. And, I didn't understand. And then at the end of the day, what they did to him was horrendous. He has a right to be an evil, bitter fuck, but he can't even remember it. And so, anyway, he's Scorpio rising with Sagittarius moon. So that moon
was he?
could
Wait!
be
Was he born in '79?
He's born in 1960. He's his mother used to tell us that it was 8 a.m. November 19th.
So,
and
do you know anybody who was born in '79 that's a part?
I'm sorry?
Do you know anybody who's born in '79 that's a part of all this?
I have a lot of friends who are I'm going to turn 54. She's like, what? And I have a lot of friends who are 10 years younger than me. There are people in my life, but no, 1979 is a bit longer. But, that could be some other transit maybe, or I don't know. What are you getting at?
For some reason, there's just something Mimi's told me before, and for some reason I think it's associated with you. So I don't know what happened in 1979, but, for some reason, the word corrupt and 1979 are coming to my mind.
Well, let me put it to you this way. Bono, is, and will always, and I think he's the fucking Antichrist. He's that fucking famous now, and we were as close as a brother and sister. We were twins.
Wow.
People, the Edge's wife and everybody else was, checking on it, and yet he and his wife, they were doing every talk were so wonderful and saintly, and they're the most horrible people.
I think that's so fucking funny because I hate Bono. I don't know the band or anything like that, but
Oh, no, I love that, because if you didn't get it, it was going to suck.
yeah, no, if anybody asks me what I think of Bono, I can't even remember exactly what band he's part of, but I think he's a douchebag.
Oh,
That's like my instant response.
Yeah. It's just, no. There's so many. That was what's weird, is when I started to print a page about my book that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But I go in and out of these, like, bizarre harbors about it. Because it's kind of like, well, do I really want to do this? Or is this God? Or is this me? Or is this, more of me taking some kind of punishment for, like, everybody, like what you were touching on. It's like, how do you find out which one of those things is the way? Do you know what I mean? Like, sure, it could work for me, but I don't want to do the wrong thing. It's too spiritual for me.
Well,
and it's too much of a thing that has to be dealt with in accordance with what else is wrong with me, because the stress factor is just, like, as you can see, killing me. They're going through their Saturn returns right now in fucking Capricorn. So I'm like, even though I have everything in the Capricorn.
So let's talk about you now, because that's what we need to do. So that's what I was saying. Like, that you're definitely proving my point, because I think the only thing you said in all of that was that I wanted to write a book. So this is the thing that trips me out when you always tell me, like, you're an Aries, and I'm like, that's weird, because you don't come off like an Aries at all, and that's because you put everybody first. So here's the big irony of life, right?
It's my node. It's my node in Cancer.
Well, it's a couple of things. Aries is supposed to be me. Aries is I am, me, my, I. You've only said I maybe a couple of times. So that's your first defeating behavior that we need to address. So when I look at your chart here, actually, let's pick up.
So what you're saying is it's not selfish I. It's just an I that needs to be made an I.
You need to focus on you. Like, think
yes.
So,
self-love. Every astrologer who's ever met me and worked with me has said self-love. You were saying it on the thing today. I was like, Jesus, here we go.
Yeah, well, we're gonna go into deeper about that, because I'm not like one of those half-ass astrologers. So we're looking at a solar chart here. So first off, what I was saying initially before I called you is that a lot of this is psychosomatic. So you have a Uranus-Pluto conjunction. So that's supposed to be a generational signature, but it's in Virgo, and you have it in the Virgo house. So a lot of actually the situations that you put yourself in are all psychosomatic. A lot of it is guilt as well. So you need to understand that. And honestly, what we're gonna have to do, we're gonna have to have another chat with you on Skype, because I'm gonna turn on my app and I'm gonna have your soul come forward and tell us what's going on.
Interesting.
Yeah, so we can hear it straight from your soul's mouth, so you don't have to worry about what's right and what's wrong anymore, and they can validate that for us. But that's something I've kind of gotten into recently. I don't know if you've seen some of my Instagram things where I'm talking to Mimi. Mimi's my soul.
Yeah, that's one of those areas where I get a little nervous. Obviously with the Christian thing, blah 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 blah. You don't need to go to some. It's not a matter of me thinking that, like, oh, I'm going to be punished for it, because I know God will forgive me if I do what I want. I don't mean to be sounding like that.
Yeah,
but it's kind of like one of those things where, like, obviously if I'm honoring myself and I don't know all those details, like, I keep trying to study Deuteronomy and all these books where they start attacking astrology, and they start attacking people doing other things, and I just sit there and I say, but what about Daniel? What about Daniel? He had these dreams. There it is, the dreams. He had those dreams. He had those visions. So there's a place for it. But I think, there's so many. I think it's like this. It's like when Jesus in the Bible was talking about, like, throw the first stone, and the guys were like, oh, she was da-da-da. And he goes, yeah, those who haven't sinned, throw the first stone. And it's kind of like, well, like, I don't feel necessarily that I know all the history yet. So, God's not going to kick me to the floor if I'm trying to find out the answers. It's not, I'm not doing it for a sick motive.
Right.
But a lot of people do, So, I'm trying to really learn, and I don't think that God is that evil. You know what I mean? And my conscience does a lot of shit on me, as you could see.
Yeah.
It's obvious in there. But I think that comes from, and I was going to say, my sister was absolutely atrocious to me as a child. And all these other people, all heavily Scorpio, heavily. So, like, the best friends that I have still, Bono had it on the moon. Todd has it here, there, and yonder. Sun, maybe moon, rising. My best friend in New York that I've known since I was 13, she's a Scorpio rising.
You're talking about other people again.
People have said that to me. They've said, like, you draw in these heavy Scorpio people. And you had said that thing about the Plutonian signature. So do I actually have that?
Yeah, well, more or less your soul does.
Yeah.
So you have a polar ascendant. So that's supposed to be, you imagine like your ascendant rising. So the polarity, which is like basically the downward spiral, the bottom of the barrel kind of thing. You have that in Scorpio, so you literally are like a whirlwind for Scorpio archetype people. And the problem is that also Scorpio people, the way for you to actually curb this, and I know this personally because I'm a Plutonian.
Yeah.
If you like lure people in and say, I don't feel like I have any control of my life, and I'm willing to basically be a puppet, and you can do to me what you will. If you do that, you'll get every single Charles Manson like version of Scorpios you can find.
I can't believe you said Charles Manson when I was a kid. We lived in this really fancy fucking building. It's actually where Bono is now, which I was like, yeah, follow my life, steal it, good, you fucking bastard. Seriously, I can't tell you how many times. And it's Steve Jobs' old apartment. And like, I had other friends who were in the music business who lived in that building, and other friends from school, and it was like, it was just like, how dare you?
Wow.
And then I see him finally, like, where did you move? And like, I lived in fucking Dustin Hoffman's apartment as a kid. And he's like, I like to Steve Jobs. And it's like, this conversation was ridiculous. It's probably the last conversation I had with him. But the fact of the matter is that, you're in this vortex of power. Like, this is where I hit the 22-degree mark on my sun and my moon constantly. People in my life that have 22 degrees and 22 degrees, my best friend since I'm 4, she's got 22 sun, 22 degree in the moon in Mars and the moon in Aries. And just what you said, the me thing.
Yes.
I think because I have Cancer and Capricorn as my nodes, that it was like my ass was kicked through my entire life with teasing from my sister, like in school, at home, got everybody to gang up on me. Scorpio rising, and then like fucking all this shit happens, and I end up like going like, being like all fucked up in the head, and it was things like my music and my singing, and she was having people torment me in the school, and my parents couldn't even stop her.
Yeah.
She fucking handcuffs her friend one time with my father's boss's friend who had stabbed in the back. And parents are in the fucking elevator of this fancy ass building, and I'm like 11, and I have to go and like pull the girl up out of the damn well. I mean, we're talking like sick, crazy.
Wow.
And I'm like, what? And then I'm like, oh, it's an incredible amount of torture.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go ahead and brush up on that. So you keep thinking that it's your North Node in Cancer. So I'm sure you know about this at least. The 8th house is associated with your self-secrets. And so you having a Scorpio and the polar ascendant in Scorpio in that house means that some of the really dark, like sadistic stuff that you've done is your secrets, which you kind of just already spilled that for me. But but you're
saying, wait, my shit or somebody else's shit?
Things you've done.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but there's one house that people usually overlook, and I'm not immune to this. The 12th house. Do you know what's in your 12th house?
Well, that's my thing, is that everybody that I went to, and these were good astrologers, who I picked them themselves, and as much as that, like, Michael Ludemitz just told me I was like a Queen Anne's table. At the end of it, he finally, he wouldn't tell me anything I wanted to ask him. He was such a dick. And he just wanted to come to Tom Tipton. He's a pain in the ass. It's just from being famous, I'm sure, from what I
Oh
know.
yeah,
And
it's
at the
the
end of the
ego
day, he
thing.
said, you're like the Queen Anne's table. He said, you're the type of thing that will be found at like a yard sale, and people would be like ignoring it. And one person would look at it and be like, you know, if you strip this down, I think this might be something. And you get it, and you take it, and you strip it down, and it's a fucking Queen Anne's table. And I was like, whoa. And he goes, and you know I don't give compliments out. And I was like, that's true. So, I mean, there's something about me, and again, like, this is where I think the autism thing comes in, but, you know, there's definitely, I'm different than most people.
Yeah,
Like,
definitely. Definitely. So, in your solar chart right here, basically you have Chiron and Pisces in your 12th house. So you have a difficulty gaining your own sense of individuality. I've already nailed that on the head quite a few times.
Yes.
You have the ability
Absolutely.
to feel others' pain and may need to detach or meditate in order to basically, you know, not grieve for other
or
people.
go and hide. Yes.
Yeah, right. You may also suffer from your own deep or personal grief. You may work or serve as a healing institution. You have the potential of being a spiritual healer and a catalyst for healing others once you address your own issues. So just like with,
exactly.
Yeah, so just like with me, like, I mean, I know I'm a little bit ahead of the game than you, but it's actually because when you have, I can look up your soul chart. I don't know if you've ever had that done before, but I can look up your.
Are you talking about draconics?
Yes.
Oh, I wrote it down. Like, it's because I had chronic pain for the last 3 years. I'm like not as up on that right now, but I did them about 3 years ago, and yes, I do understand. I do know what you're talking about. Go on.
I already have it right here. So
oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay,
So basically.
Yeah, I don't know enough to, you know, I mean, I know a lot, but I don't know enough to actually know what that's. But I'll tell you one other thing before I forget.
Mm-hmm.
The weird thing that I always understand is if I don't rectify a pod's chart 20 minutes later to Sagittarius and everything, which he's got the moon anyway, so he could be acting like that from the moon.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're like, let me tell you a story, and like be a cult leader, crazy person. You know, like, I don't know what. But then sorry, one more time, lost my thinking.
You were trying to figure out like what his rising was or whatever. I do think he is a Scorpio rising. Just from what I looked at on your chart, he'd have to be a Scorpio rising for you guys to even be together.
Well, okay. So he's November 19th. It was his mother said 8 a.m. But you know how people just round stuff up. He ended up. What I found out like 20 years later was that that's 8 years ago was that he got separated from his mother at birth.
Right.
And nobody knew it. And all the other people in the house, like the older brother had shock treatments, the younger brother is a schizophrenic, the mid-brother is an alcoholic who got it under control, and Todd is a white-knuckling alcoholic for the last 6 years. And I haven't talked to him in a year and a half because I was too fucking crazy and I couldn't do anything because of the pain and everything else. But yeah, I mean, he's Mercury's in Scorpio. So whether he has it or not, whether he has it or not, it's the rising sun. Kind of doesn't matter. It's a lot of Scorpio with some Sagittarius, which means big mouth, foot in mouth syndrome. You know, I mean,
that's so me.
It's like, you know, he's so fucking. His second house is Capricorn. It's Venus is there, and Pluto is. It's like, oh my God, you want to hang yourself. Like, I thought I had a big mouth, but he never talked when we were younger. So it's kind of like, oh, but then I ended up, you know, fear is what ran me off.
Yeah, let's redirect.
That bothers me.
Let's redirect. Let's redirect this to you. Because you keep getting sidetracked.
No, that's the problem, I think, because I was stalked in my last building, and he slipped out and did something crappy to me back, you know what I mean, where it was like, you came to visit me after 20-odd years, everything was one way, and then you flipped the fuck out, and this is why I think he has autism as well. That's another astrologer who read for me.
Yeah.
No, she read for me, and that's why I went looking for autism, and I found myself.
You're not autistic. You're not autistic. I can totally explain to you why.
No, but it's a very different kind of autism. People don't understand about women in autism because they don't. This is a very new kind of concept, but they don't. They imitate everything, and I constantly. As soon as I went to a butcher shop out here, I've never been there. And this lady's talking about her autistic daughter, And I was like, yeah, it feels like you're acting all the time. I'm like, why would this woman talk to me out of nowhere? And she's an 11-year-old who's always acting all the time. And that's exactly what I was saying. Like, I was telling her that.
Yeah.
You know, my life is just this constant, like, I need to go in a hole and recover and then come back out. And, like, they have all the problems. Oh, and you brought this up as well. This was like, no other stranger on life said this. You brought up the fact that there's been this Neptune drug abuse shit going on.
Yes.
People who've had drug crimes.
Yes.
I totally had that.
Yeah.
And that because of my back pain, I had to go on meds to go to New York, and then I got into some war with some idiot. Luckily, I got off of it again, which was good because what I planned. But you know, there's just all sorts of things with me that are addiction related. That when you talked about like getting all screwy,
Yeah.
you know, like that's totally happens. It's like somebody having a mood swing from like, you know, one extreme to the other, and that's the pituitary. I know that the pituitary is proven. I love
Right.
it. Poops and everything. But the autism thing, you know, they can give me the type of help so that I can try and understand how can I work. Disabled my whole life and all these things by my family and feeling so crazy, and it was the first hope I ever saw.
Right.
So, you know, there's a lot of brain chemical issues with me, no matter what I do.
It's
And
but here's
never understood.
here's going back to that. A lot of this is psychosomatic. So I'm not saying that you're not you
No,
can't be a
you're
spectrum of
absolutely right. Yeah, it gets extreme. It goes to like wow.
yeah, because you like I mean honestly, if we were gonna even humor the autistic thing, you having a Taurus
Mhm.
Mercury, and this is an offense to anybody who has a Taurus Mercury, I would
Yeah.
equate that to autism. Like like you know what I
You
mean?
would.
Yeah. So I'm not saying that
Yeah.
that means autistic. That just means you're really slow mentally. So you know what I
But
mean?
that's the thing is that I literally, every time I write something, you can tell by the way I write. I write very long, very intensely. And it's not always helpful to me in normal ways. Like the talk, everything. It's very overt and things. But like the thing with autism that females do is copying, and I am an acting mimic. And my mother raised the house like it was an acting school on top of it. So it's like, I had no rules, Ray. It was like, there were no rules.
Yeah, I know.
So-
I know how that is. That's how my life was too, for the most part.
And it's just, and it's bizarre because, I mean, I'm almost 30 years older than you.
Yeah. Well, see.
You know, so you just kind of go, whoa, they learned nothing from back then.
Well, no. Basically, what I was going to touch base on with that is that, like, I looked at your soul chart. So the reason why you attract a lot of people who are Capricornian or Scorpio-like is because you're so think of it this way, like. Not thinking about the whole God concept or whatever. So we have our own spirit that's embodied, like mine's Mimi, and your spirit is a Capricorn. So you think of it like
That's the South Node.
yeah. Well, no. When I look at your draconic chart, you're a Capricorn.
Oh,
You're a Capricorn Sun, a Capricorn Moon, a Capricorn Mars, a Capricorn Eris, a Capricorn Jupiter. So you have the mentality of a Capricorn. That's your soul. So think about it this way. So Capricorns are all about being disciplined, structured, and so, and here's the thing. The reason why all this trauma happens in your life is because you actually have your South Node in Capricorn, right, for your actual chart. So that's conjunct with all that. So you see, yes, the Saturn. The Capricorn South Node is your soul. You see how that lines up with that? But you have your Ceres conjunct with that too. So that means that once you actually basically understand who your soul is and try to work with your soul specifically to be stable, you will be able to be that wounded healer that you need to be. So when we look at this, I'm looking at, I'll post this in the video or whatever, but it's a bi-wheel. The inside of it is your actual soul chart. And then I
understand that.
I put your life chart on the outside. So your North Node in Cancer is in the 5th house of self. Exactly what I've been telling you. So your goal in this life is to your soul is so solid and has everything down to a point. That's why you understand things. And that's because you're so in tune with everything around you, because you understand how the world works. Your soul understands how the world works. Now you're so fixated on everybody else that you've lost yourself. So that's
I'm constantly looking around, like hyper vigilant at everything coming in at me, which is partially autistic, but it's also, I'm not going to sit there, like even my psychiatrist said to me, it's not just autism, it's trauma.
Yeah,
so you mix those two things together, and your like lights are on. I feel like I got that stupid, amplifier that's turned up to 11.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. But these are heavy Capricorn. My other best friend in New York, heavy Capricorn, very, very parental to me, very protective, very loving when they're not on their own trips. But when they're on their own trips, they can be very negative. But it's very difficult when you're trying to deal with all this, and everybody's agenda is so huge, and you understand it, but yet, like what you were saying, you have to be very careful of the toxicity.
Right.
Because, it's not just these people, it's a lot of people who are toxic now. It's a spiritual state of thing.
That's the Revelations thing going on right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Unfortunately, yeah, because I'm dealing with that too, and you need to be extra careful. Like, I'm not trying to project my own problems onto you, but we do have the same rising and the same MC. I literally was, like, a couple of my friends literally were planning on killing me.
Yeah, I caught it today. I caught more of it, and then I had seen like a 2-second here and there. Like, I have to pull myself off because it become like I get like in a trance with the phone. But yeah, I got a chance to look at some of it today, and I was like, geez, crazy people, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Just, I understand it, because I was a junkie when I was like, how old was I? In my late 20s, I'd gone to the psych ward in around 86.
Yeah, I did. Don't worry, I did too, don't worry.
No, I know. But I know. But they say they made me insane. Like, what they did to me was corrupt. And I didn't deserve any of it. I'd never done hard drugs or any of that and then later on, because of that, that's when I finally was like, fuck all this. The fucking, like that Neptune thing you said. Also, you brought up cognitive dissonance, and I'm like, there's so many, and some other video you had.
Yeah. There's that one Plutonian Oracle video too that I think you should watch, or like it's like that one, like it's going on about exactly what you're talking about, that people are trying to condition you to think that there's something wrong with you. And one thing I want to break out off of you right now is that regardless if you're quote unquote like in a psychological way autistic as you claim, just stop repeating that to yourself, because either way, because like you got to think of it like every single person, for example, you and I, we're supposed to be able to talk really fast for the people who can't speak. You see what I'm saying? And there's some people that have to actually thoroughly look over things really slow, because for example with me, I'm like, I have a Jupiter opposition with Mercury, so I'm like sporadic all over the place, and I'm jumping to like 50 different topics, obviously. So the reason why people like you are around, like having the Taurus Mercury and having the really deep subconscious with Scorpio, is to be that fixed mentality. So it's not that you're autistic, it's that you have a fixed mind, and it takes a long time for you to absorb stuff. It has nothing to do with there being something defective or autistic about you. It's just you have to have a certain ritualistic thing, and you have to take a certain amount of time to absorb stuff. For me, like, think about it for me. Like, you're sitting there comparing me to other astrologers. To be honest, like, it's 2018. In 2014, I was no better than Alyssa Sharp. So, yeah, I'm not even joking. So, like, so think.
No, I knew you learned it in like a fucking year flat, and I was just sitting there going, "What the hell? Where did she come from?"
Yeah. So I just
crazy.
came out of nowhere. So, like, I'm able to jump, like, to different mental kind of wavelengths. And so for me, like, when I sit there and, like, jump to too many conclusions, like, oh my god, we're all gonna fucking die, like, it's people like you that are supposed to come forward and go, okay, maybe we need to gloss back over all of the details to where you jumped from A to B to Z before we start, like, telling people.
I guess it takes one to know one to just go into the going, but, you know, I'll tell you this, the autism that I'm really talking about is female autism. It's very different than boys. I guess, you know, I don't know how much you know about it, but people are just starting to understand. So they get misdiagnosed.
No, I know. I've got
not that they don't talk a lot. They actually do. It's a different. It's like males and females being different. It literally is like flip sides. It's the amount of, like, drugging, alcoholing, something to make it go away so that they can conform and be a part of. And if you look right my chart, I definitely have got that problem with that Capricornian thing. It's like, oh, I used to be, you know, with the whole world, and now I'm walking away, and it's like, ow, you know, and it's like, oh.
Yeah.
But it just seems to me that these people could teach me how to function. I've never worked a job more than a tiny amount of time, and I would get terrorized because of this overwhelm that I would have. So it's more about the overwhelm and the inability to function. Plus, there is a family that said, throw money at it. We have money, and then all of a sudden the money was gone.
Right.
So there's, you know what I'm saying? But in terms of typical male autism, I mean, I don't know how much you know about it, but I studied this for like 3 years, and I was looking for pod, and I realized it was me. I was like, oh shit. But it's not the same as male. It's not the withdrawn. I withdraw, like, when I'm really upset, I start talking really quietly. And like, I would talk to anybody in like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Just like go into this kind of shell.
So just for the shits and giggles, because I don't think you know how much I'm into psychology. Not like I'm trying to be a counselor.
Oh, I do actually. That was part of the reason I wanted you to do it.
Yeah. So I have my diagnostic statistical manual for mental disorders out right now.
Okay.
I grabbed it while you were
I can reel those off real quick.
Okay, so it says it's an impairment of reciprocal social interaction, and it is gross and sustained. It says the impairment in communication is also marked by the sustained effects of both verbal and nonverbal skills. And then it says associative descriptive features. In many cases, the associated diagnostic of mental retardation commonly in modern range from 35 to 50 IQ. Do you know what your IQ is?
Are you on updated DSM, or are you in an older one?
I use the older one because I don't believe in the new one.
Yeah, no, I have it, but the problem with the Asperger's is, since they are learning more, is that the female is, like, actually what's really weird is out here where I moved to, and I moved, like, where every, like, bus was, like, the exact opposite what I was doing that was, like, making me sick and killing me. Everything is here. It's like you walk outside and you're like, it's like having a mood swing, because I was so used to being, like, out in some town somewhere in La La Land.
Yeah.
And this whole thing is that the person, like I went to this one guy who does, like, you know, diagnostic testing, and I came up with one of the things you just said. And I couldn't believe that the guy didn't think I was messed up, because of these old school male versions. He said that I have a nonverbal learning disability. If you look up nonverbal learning disability, I'm like, that's what you see there is an autistic person. But because the females are only getting, they get diagnosed after they're 18 to 20, and then the older people are just, like, left a lot. But so these people are doing a lot of testing out here and a lot of different things like that. Mm-hmm. But anyway, I'm just, you know, giving you information. But
yeah.
So it's autism spectrum. I'm high functioning. my psychiatrist says that, he also had Tourette's, which is really true. My parents let me curse so much that, like, I couldn't tell the difference between, like, a tick and the real thing.
Yeah. Well, so think of this. So when we're looking at your mental houses, that's the 3rd house, 6th house, the 9th house, and then the 12th house, right? So your 12th house has to do with your subconscious, and it's and for the solar sign, it's ruled by Pisces. So your subconscious is not like has no structure. So that's why. Yeah.
My sun and moon are sitting right there, like my mother and my father.
Yeah. So yeah, your 12th house has a lot to do with your development with your family. So having no structure in your life would primarily come from what your parents did to you between you being born till you're 7. Then we speed forward to the 9th house, and that's how you basically conclude things with what you've learned or your life. And you have them all in Sagittarius. You've got Pallas in Sagittarius. You've got Black Moon Lilith in Sagittarius. So let's see. Let me see. I want to click on the actual description.
And Todd has all that Sagittarius, so I feel sorry for him.
Yeah, so the black
his foot in his mouth.
Yeah, the Black Moon in Sagittarius. You have a tendency to throw yourself into new ventures, determined by being exhilarated physically, emotionally, and mentally. So it's the toxicity high. So it's the same equivalent as a drug rush. And this can be positive trait if you show some self-restraint and consider those around you. But instead of that, consider yourself, because you have a totally backwards with that. And then it says, however,
this is where I go, like, well, the Cancer North Node and the Capricorn South Node are both, like, infiltrating all my Aries, kind of, and making me less of a selfish lunatic.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like being at cross purposes with yourself.
Yeah, well, because, like, the most defeating thing that an Aries can do is to never put themselves first. Do you see what I'm saying?
I thought that was impossible for Aries.
No, you do that really well. I can tell by our whole talk. But so it says Sagittarius. Sagittarius indicates that you are somewhat reckless in your pursuit for goals or a rush. Imagine a team of horses galloping out of control with a carriage bouncing around behind them. Ask some of the people. Ask some of the people you if they can perhaps identify with this imagery. Do you feel
That's pretty much me in the 2020s.
Yeah, do you feel like you're riding out of control? Do you feel like a riding out of control carriage? You might be surprised by their answers. You don't fully realize how exuberant side of your nature can take over. You don't mean to bully or your loved ones or colleagues or vice versa. You have the other problem with that. You don't realize or you don't put yourself as them trying to bully you. But this can be an effect if you...
Wait. You're saying that I don't realize they're bullying me or I'm bullying them?
Normally this would be that you're bullying them, but and I guess it could go either way, but primarily
I think might be a little bit of it, because when Todd finally said something that actually was a feeling and not just some weird deflecting, I said, you're a bully, and he said, well, I think you're a bully, and then I was like, well, wait a second, because it seems actually he and I have a seesaw chart. Do you know that term? Yeah. We have a seesaw chart, which is really another reason why I do look at it and go, something's fucked up. No, but in good fucked up, bad fucked up, like deal with it kind of thing, is that he and I, when you do the Scorpio rising chart, like you just said, 8 a.m. is Scorpio rising, all of the corner, like the rising, it's triple Aquarius, that chart. The sun, moon, and rising sign are Aquarius 29 degrees.
Oh, gosh.
What does that mean?
29 degrees of Aquarius?
It's still all the same, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, 29 degrees is like the most evolved of that, and Aquarius is known for being dysfunctional or being a trauma signature, so I mean...
Right. But it is but it's kind of like, he's got that weird Nessus shit going on. Like, we both have the same shit going on, different variations of it, but
Yeah.
the same shit, like the Sousa, and it's bizarre.
Yeah.
So it leaves me always feeling like, yeah, you should definitely not throw it in, in the corner and keep waiting for it. But this other piece that's there that says something else is bothering me. I wonder sometimes if that's not Bono. And Bono has a 22-degree Capricorn rising. And for years, my friends would be like, "Can we not talk about Bono right now?" And I, like, took up for him. And I was like, "He's my brother." And then finally, everybody else started calling him piece of shit. And I finally caught up, and then I found out they were. And I was like, what?
Oh, God.
So, it's crazy, my life.
Yeah. So, we'll move on to the ninth house has that stellium of Sagittarius in it. So that's like right at home with that. But then we look at for this you have the Uranus, which is a trauma signature, retrograde with Pluto conjunct that in your 6th house. So primarily what this stems from is that your lack of actual, you kind of hit this on the head with that already, but your lack of actual structure as a child from your parents caused you to have
something from my parents. What?
Basically the lack of structure from having with your parents.
Yeah.
Caused you to not develop a sense of self-importance, hence why you don't put yourself first. And it's actually because you're an Aries and you're supposed to be I, me, mine. So the fact that they actually conditioned you without realizing it to not put yourself first, that's actually stems to your entire problem and struggle in life. All of it.
Completely. And and as you see, my sun and moon are up in the 12th. I'm in the dark of the moon. I'm balsamic, like a Bob Dylan type.
Yeah.
And, you nailed it during that tarot reading. But when you look at that, my Gemini is squaring Pisces. My parents are born. This is the sickest thing. Okay, my first boyfriend was born on March 17th. My mother's father was born on March 17th. My mother was born on March 18th. My father was born, she was the 19th. My father was March 18th. First boyfriend I had, the 17th. I call it the danger zone week for Pisces now. It's like, forget it. When you did that video where you talked about Pisces, Mercury and stuff, you were describing my crazy mother.
Yeah.
And so, she, my dad, they have a really strong no tie, whatever, but they're, fighting for dominancy because the sun, Jenny Lynch was, the sun is usurped the moon in my chart, apparently, because they're both 22 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where also it's weird is my other best friend season 4, 22 degrees on her sun and moon, Aries and Sagittarius. My other one, Bono, who was one before, 22 degrees rising. I see it constantly.
Yeah.
And things that are chasmy as well, just really weird shit. And the sister that my parents could not control was teasing me at home and at school.
Yeah.
It was and it was all around my music. So I would play viola and screw up because if I wasn't paying attention, I wouldn't be able to play. And if I was, I would. And she would annihilate me with all the boys that just came to the school.
Right. Right.
And I feel like I've never dealt with what she did to me. That's the one where I go, well, she's the Scorpio rising.
Yep.
So,
Yep, because that's exactly what your chart says with that. When I was looking at this here, it says Chiron in Pisces in the 12th house. It says you suffer from deep buried wounds, moments overwhelming pain. Exploring the depths of your pain may later become a catalyst for healing, and it has to do with maturity, understanding, liberating the self. And it basically has to do with some sort of you're suffering from your own deep personal grief that you have yet to acknowledge.
Yeah, I think that's very true. Is it, so you're saying the Chiron is coming up in the 12th house and in 12th house transit, or it's not?
I'm looking at your solar chart. I'll actually include it in the video right here. I'll save it because I use different charts. Like honestly, like I'll show them all back to back. But I know a lot of other astrologers don't do this, hence because I actually taught myself from, ancients, the way that they do it. But let me say this, Julie Ma Solar. Okay, yeah, so honestly I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different charts for you.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, so I'm referencing all of these, so I guarantee you that other astrologers actually don't know anything about this, like, so that's probably why you've never heard of these. But when
no, I totally know what you're talking about. Having drawn like an Astro.com pulled up like the draconics and stuff. I understand where you're going, but it's like I just was trying to understand so I wasn't confusing it with something else. But,
no, it's the solar chart.
The astrologers they get way too caught up in like la land, and it's really important to confront your shadow, I think.
Right.
Like, what are you doing this for? Do you know what I mean? Like, that's...
Right.
It's like, my Achilles heel, let's just ignore it. No, that's not the point.
Right, and if people can't acknowledge their own shadow, they can't help other people acknowledge theirs.
Yeah, and I mean, but, like, even if you're saying bringing it back to me, I keep saying, like, on all these astrologers and all these, so totally this person, whatever, but yet they didn't start fixating on the 12th house, and they should have. Like, in the 12th and the 6th, like Jupiter right now in my 6th house, my regular, like, what the fuck is that doing to that 12th house? Because I see Kronos, like, literally on the cusp of my rising sign, and plus, everything that's sort of in Gemini is being, like, chopped in the face by, like, my mother and father's astrology, that Pisces thing, of having Pisces in the 10th natally.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to understand, because it just seems so incredibly horrible.
Yeah. Well, I'm actually looking at, now I'm looking at your actual chart. Here we go. So, I was looking at your solar chart the whole time, but, because I've already got this. Like, I use the ancient ways, that's why I actually know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But, you having your sun and your moon in your 12th house means you have no idea how you feel. You have no idea who you are.
Yeah.
You have no idea what you should believe in. You have no idea. You have no idea why your mental process is the way it is. That's why you keep going back to the autism thing, and you have no idea.
The autism thing.
Yeah, that's why you keep going to the autism thing, because you have no idea how your mind actually works. And then
I gotta tell you though, going to the autism thing actually made me feel better.
Really?
I was like, I'm not that fucking crazy. Fuck all y'all that try to make me think I was insane.
Well, just think of...
I think that's a positive way to look at it, at least.
Well, just look at it like this. Like, I always tell people to just make it simple. Like, so, think of a Taurus. Like, I'm not talking about a person, but, like, think of what it represents. Sure. It represents the bull, right? Yeah. So if you were just going to look up on YouTube and, like, just show me, like, cows grazing, think of that as your head, inside your head. Just that's exactly what it is. So like I try to steer away from.
And that's like that is a female autism. like I was so obsessed with the Rolling Stones when I was in high school. Like the tutors would be sent to come over and get me to do my homework. and I would take my 100 Rolling Stones albums and put them on the bed and like sequential, like boys all like line up their cars when they're 2. I love Betsy Johnson, and I want like all the pieces that completely match. Like everything is match over. It's the only thing that's ever made me feel better. But like, you know, the pituitary gland, my pituitary gland is fucked, like completely fucked. I've taken human growth hormone. I've taken estrogen shots. I feel beach well. I mean, it's like
a lot of that stress.
Brain head.
A lot of that is stress induced. Like your pituitary gland could be totally.
That's what every doctor told me.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is it? They're like, but I almost got one cancer scare at one point, and then it went away. Thank God. But you know, female stuff.
Yeah, no,
But
I can see that because like again, cancer stress related.
Yeah.
And here's, I'm not trying to scare you or anything. This is going to be your motivation for this. But when Uranus goes into Taurus, your cancer scare may come back, and it might be real this time.
Right. I think the problem, that's what I was concerned about because when you take a lot of hormones, shit happens. And where I am right now, something you were talking about that. I mean, like I said, I feel much better here because I got a nice apartment. Everything's right. It's just really hard to get things together when you can't barely stand up. But you know, you go outside and it's like it's like a mood swing. It's like, oh, you know, like my brain got stuck. There's your Mercury Taurus.
Yeah.
I have to keep reminding myself that it's, you know, I did it. I left. It's gone. I told my mother for 3 years she needed to sell that house. She wasted all the money and made like my life even more stressful. It was just crazy though. So you know, that Taurus thing, I see it. That stuck thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I have that too in my dreams. Like Bono and I used to have dreams about the exact same people. I would dream who he met, and then we'd like meet for lunch in New York. He'd be like, I met so-and-so last night. And I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ, I just dreamt that. Like, that kind of crazy shit that you go through, it's like, what? You know, and this was before he was super famous and everything. You know, I mean, you're just like, you know, you're not like overshadowed by all this nonsense, and you're just like, what is wrong with me? You know what I mean? And I think that's the other piece is that, like, I don't embrace that Gemini, you know, heaven and hell type idea that they see.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important for me to understand. Like I said, like that's why it's really important for me in the Bible to like read about the astrology shit and really understand who was doing it, why God was mad. You know, not to just be some crazed fundamentalist who goes and be like, they said it, so I'm not. You know, I'm not. I can't. That cult that I was in was a Christian cult, and it was so devastating. I mean, that's why God can't even function now.
Wow.
You know, and this is why Bono's a complete asshole. I mean, these people were falling apart at 19 years old. So, you know, and getting famous. But it's just fucking with your head. But, you know, I seem to be the suffering servant in the picture. And I do think that sometimes that's very dangerous for my personality type, obviously.
Yeah. But what I'm gonna do is that I think we'll call it just this session a day. I'm gonna render this, let you listen to all of this again, and I'm gonna look at your chart some more, and we're gonna have another talk, and we're gonna have to do Skype this time, so we're gonna get your soul involved and see.
Okay. I don't know how else we've been able to get it to work. It seems like when I put it on the tablet that I have now, it came up, and I was able to put like the cell phone number on it.
Yeah.
And like it said the other night, I think it's the thing about you have to chat, but I didn't know what the hell to do with it. But I guess I could try that and see if it'll work.
If not, we'll figure it out. I just got to use the app for the Spirit Box thing on my phone, so that's why. So.
What? I'm sorry.
We'll figure something out. It's just because I have to use the Spirit Box app on my phone, so I can't be talking to you and doing that at the same time on there. So, but we'll figure it out. I'll let you digest this, and I'll get back to you whenever, unless it's immediate. We can let this digest for a couple days and let you watch this a couple times, and then I'll do another follow up without talking to you directly, and kind of make sure I addressed anything we talked about, and then we'll have another chat.
Yeah, and I was going to say also, you know, I have a landline if that would help anything. I don't know if it will or not.
Oh yeah, we'll probably be able to figure something out. So just let me know if you have
Yeah.
any other burning questions. If you want me to address anything, in the meantime, you
Yeah,
can just hit me up.
But the other thing is just if you can take, I mean, the thing with my mother and shit is like, yeah, but maybe I can send you her time and stuff.
Yeah, just give me her
something.
chart info and I'll look at that.
Yeah, maybe I'll just send you an email with all the culprits there, and you can go like, holy shit, 'cause it's ridiculous when you look at it. Like, you'll be like, oh my god.
Yeah,
Like, what a wicked red we weave when we practice keeping thieves.
Yeah, I'll pick them apart. I'm really good at that.
Yeah, and I think too, my mother. This is weird. Is that my mother? I think is the problem that when you were getting pissed off in the other reading, you're like, because I haven't had any contact with Todd in a year and a half.
Right.
But I think my mother is the culprit. I really do, because I had another astrologer in Ireland do a thing once, and a good reading. He was very good, and he said my father wasn't really doing anything. He did some stupid shit when I was younger, but like he was more like the absentee thing.
Right.
So it's an interesting, but yeah, my sister and my dad have a lot of Libra stuff too. So
Gotcha.
my mother's got Taurus rising.
Oh God. Yeah, I think my mom does too. Okay.
So much, right?
All right. Yeah, no problem. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, take care.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Julie, you are priority. We're going to hash out and tear apart whoever else you're talking about. But you are priority. I don't even know where to put my cards at anymore. But yeah. That needs to be priority. Aries is about me. Repeat this after me. I am me, my, I. Think about this when you watch this again. Your spirit, God is the spirit, aka your soul. So your soul is you. I, me, mine. When you neglect yourself, you neglect your soul too. And if you're neglecting your soul, you're neglecting God. Because the God is you. Watch this. As many times as you need to. Condition this. You need to learn this. You having a Taurus Mercury, despite if you think it's autism or not. I remember when I was raising livestock in like school, because I lived out in the countryside, I decided to never do bulls or steer because they never listen. It takes them a long time for you to actually train them. That's why I stuck with lambs. Lambs are easily led, which is also another association. Rams, lambs with Aries. You're being easily led because of the lack of structure in your life, but you're supposed to be raised, just like with the lambs, to lead themselves. You have yet to do that. That needs to be addressed. Those are your main concerns. You are your first priority. Don't forget that. Don't ever forget that. Julie is number one. Start acting like it. To be continued.